imagine this. One night you're sitting at a bar, minding your own business, sipping on a drink, and a beautiful woman walks up to you and starts flirting with you. One thing leads to another, and she flashes that smile, and that lets you know that something could potentially happen. She asks if you want to continue the party at her place. You, feeling confident and maybe a little buzzed, happily agree to follow her back to her house. What a pleasant surprise! You walk in and start kissing, and she offers you a drink, and you oblige. Next thing you know, the room is spinning, and the colors on the wall appear to melt into one. Everything goes blurry. Little do you know, she sprinkled something in your bourbon, and the CIA is in the next room listening in and watching your every move and taking notes. This begs the question, where will the night take you, and why exactly were you dosed? Welcome to Tales from the Graves, where shadows lurk and whispers echo.
Join us as we delve into the unknown, exploring tales of mystery, horror, and the supernatural.
Be prepared to journey into the darkness, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Jess.
Together, we're the Graves Sisters, and we'll be your guides as we unearth the strange and unusual.
So find your flashlight, grab your shovel, and let's dig in.
The following podcast is rated for mature audiences.
It may contain graphic scenes of violence and explicit language that some may find disturbing.
Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, good day, grave diggers. Welcome back to Tales from the Graves podcast. So happy you could be here with us. And as always, I am here with my sister, Jen. Hi, Jen.
Hey.
How are you doing today?
Pretty peachy.
We just got done recording episode 3, and now we're on episode 4. So excited. Now, we have dug into some serious things. We have dug into episode 1, which was on...
the Texarkana Moonlight Murders.
And episode 2 was over Boris Kiprianovich. 3 was over vampires. And now we are going to go into a little bit of dark CIA history. How's that sound?
Do I need a tinfoil hat?
I don't know. Not for this one. Not yet, but you're in for a trip. So, our topic today is actually about the reaction that the United States had to the Cold War, which was in full swing at the time. It was basically a pissing contest, or like an arms race, if you will, to who can be better than the other. Everyone was skeptical of everyone, and even the average Joe Schmo was afraid that their neighbor was going through their garbage cans to find out some kind of dirt on them and suspect them of being a Soviet sympathizer. The finger was being pointed at so many people that even in Hollywood, actors, producers, and writers were blacklisted just from rumors alone. Now, this was just a little bit after World War II. And so one of the other rumors that came to fruition was that POWs were coming home spouting communist propaganda, which was a big reason why everyone was afraid. Because, I mean, if they got soldiers that were fighting for America to come back acting completely different, there could be something a little hanky-dinky, if you know what I'm saying. Now, in 1949, Hungarian Cardinal Josef Menzensky was being brought to trial for treason and conspiracy. He'd spoken out just a little bit, not much, about new communist regime, but it didn't seem to be that he was someone who was rebellious or would actually go out of their way to act out. But when he showed up to court on that February morning, he looked like he had been beaten within an inch of his life. And his demeanor was that of a person who was tortured. He changed his opinion completely and confessed to having tried to overthrow the government. Now, these claims were so outlandish that he seemed to have been a victim of brainwashing. Now, if a man that was calm and godly could confess to such outstanding crimes, then something like brainwashing simply must have been involved in some way or the other. Back in the U.S., later that year, Dr. L. Wilson Green was tipped off that some chemical trials were being done in Switzerland. The scientist there, Dr. Albert Hofmann, was attempting to discover a cure for poor blood circulation, but created something very different than that. He tested what he had created on himself and was in for a ride of a lifetime. He accidentally stumbled upon the compound known as LSD.
Oh, cool.
Just think.
So I'm sorry. So you were saying, for poor blood circulation. I'm like, oh my God, is that the guy who created Viagra?
Not to your nether regions, but for people who actually really had poor blood circulation.
Well, I mean, Viagra was initially like a heart medication, and then that was a side effect, and so now it's just known as the little blue pill, okay?
No boner meds here. But he accidentally stumbled upon LSD. Whenever word got back to Green, he started writing a report on what Hoffman had discovered. With that information that he proposed that the government weaponized LSD, along with other hallucinatory drugs for psychochemical warfare. He thought that it was a way to win over your enemies without death and destruction of personal property and stuff like that.
Okay, so instead of let's go to war with our big old guns, let's just make everyone trip balls?
Basically, if you could possibly, kidnap the leaders and then dose them and have scientists or whatever spill their guts about secret files, secret data, maybe convince leaders of those countries to do something completely different. It's like a new way of winning the war without destroying people's lives in a different way.
Okay, so I see that, but doesn't LSD wear off?
It does. But once you mess up and you make that decision and the decision is set in stone, boom, they kind of thought of it like that way. Well, that proposal reached President Truman and he actually approved it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They had just 2 wars back to back. So if there was a way to win without any more death and property damage, he was all for it. So okay. The CIA was given permission to work with chemists at Fort Detrick in Maryland. The scientists could not run tests on human subjects themselves, but the CIA stepped in to help. So they had named their new operation MK Naomi, which is a pretty cool name, I'm not gonna lie. A man named Hillencotter joined and had created an offshoot title, Project Bluebird, to work on subjects. Now, his plan was to get subjects that they experimented on to quote-unquote sing, if you know what I was saying. So that's why it's called Bluebird, so they can get their subjects to sing. Anyway.
Oh that's
cheesy, I know.
Like a bad dad joke.
Yes, right? Their plan was to invent a new type of interrogation, not just mind control. Now, they had General Walter Bedell Smith appointed. He appointed a former spy to spearhead Bluebird. He felt that the United States needed to beef up their game, so to say. They built a facility outside a prison in Obeck-Ussel, Germany, and named it Camp King. This gave them the opportunity to get their hands on plenty of POWs and Nazis to experiment on.
Oh my. Oh. Okay.
So
okay.
It's like another knife in the back of the Nazis. Like, you're gonna do stuff to us, we're gonna do stuff to you, Even though the war was over, they're still sticking it to the Nazis,
I mean, I don't really blame them. Nazis did a lot of damage and atrocities, thinking that they were, on the right side of history. So,
yeah. But the people that were involved with the project would do anything they possibly could to break the spirits of these prisoners. They would get injected with stimulants and depressants, and sometimes even at the same time.
So they were treated like lab rats.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like, oh, we're going to try and make these guys sing and tell us all their secrets and stuff. It's we're torturing them to break their spirit, to break their mind.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But the thing is, with all this stuff being injected into them, it led to many of them having seizures, loss of breath, and like other adverse reactions. This event led to death. Because of course, I mean, you have like a heart attack or your lungs will collapse because you're breathing so hard. And
yeah, I was about to ask you if there was a death toll, and obviously there is.
They got the numbers.
So, do you have the numbers of how many people died as a result of this?
Nope.
Yes, of course. They unseal all of this, and they're like, we're just going to keep under wraps the number of people's lives that we ended because we're the American government. Yuck.
Oh my God. We're going to get so many emails.
We're now on an FBI watch list.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, especially with all the stuff I've been Googling lately. But
yeah, you have been Googling lately. Thankfully, I did not Google jack diddly squat for this.
Yeah, because I'm the conspiracy nut. So, let me see. Just whenever those subjects were at their breaking point, the CIA would deploy their interrogation tactics, such as like sensory deprivation, electroshock, and they even experimented with, get this, hypnotism. They wanted to see if hypnotism would work. And, I mean, the agents honestly didn't just want to break the person, but break their spirit and completely change their personality, which was essentially their way of brainwashing and having the prisoner under their complete control. Like hardcore Stockholm Syndrome, basically, you know. But they were just a little bit too ambitious with their endeavor, and they did not get the results that they desired. What they really needed was a scientist who was willing to do anything asked of him without any hesitation and be able to sleep through the night. Their prayers were answered.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Their prayers were answered when Dr. Sidney Gottlieb walked through their door. When Gottlieb joined, Alan Welsh Dulles, who was the first head of the CIA, thought that since they had changed paths, that they needed to start fresh. And they needed a new name, and they changed it from Bluebird to Project Artichoke.
Artichoke?
I haven't the foggiest clue why they called it that, but that is what they went with.
You know what? I bet a lot of people just put random nouns or verbs or something in a hat, and then they just drew and they're like, cool, we're Project Artichoke now. Ha! I wouldn't doubt it if they did that, though. I'm just...
Right? Like, let's do Operation Pina Colada!
That sounds like a fun operation, though.
That's the operation we're going to do later when we take our sister's trip, is Operation Pina Colada.
Okay.
That's what we're going to call it. So, with Gottlieb in tow, they were to be more intense and carry on with their previous interrogations, but actually record so that their other operatives may learn from what they were doing. Now, but the downside to their recording is that they now had documentation of what the CIA was doing, so they needed to protect the recordings at all costs. They had what they called quote-unquote safe houses in Germany, Japan, and in Panama. We were somehow convinced that the Soviets had perfected mind control, so there must be a way that we could do it as well.
What?
If they can do it, we can do it. Okay, that's...
Anything you can do, I can do better.
Yes! God! That's kind of what I was thinking about that one.
Okay.
Whenever they did a previous study with THC and hypnosis, they didn't get the results. So they even tried heroin and mescaline and those were not consistent at all. This made them bring back Green when they wanted to try out his former focus on LSD back. After trying it himself, Gottlieb loved it and thought it was the perfect drug that would get the results that they were expecting. So they moved forward with volunteers and got varying information. Trial after trial was performed with no evidence of LSD being a mind-control drug that gave the results that they could be proud of. This meant that he had to come up with a different solution. Nothing concrete came of it, but was still getting money. He was still getting paid.
Okay.
And kept receiving funds. So what was he to do but keep on keeping on? So he just kept on going. It's like, well, I'm getting money, so let's just try something else. Now it is in 1953, and Dulles wanted to move on, and this gave Gottlieb more freedom.
Oh, no.
Than he ever had with any of his other experiments. With more money and more freedom came a new name, MK Ultra.
That sounds like some kind of absolutely bonkers street drug. Kind of. You would think that something like that would be what bath salts is called.
Hey, baby, you want some MK Ultra?
Oh my god, yeah.
It'll melt your face off.
Oh my god, I can't wait. Oh my.
Well, Gottlieb got permission to experiment on anyone.
What?
Yeah, anyone. It started with sending LSD to hospitals.
Oh my.
And medical schools for experimentation, but he wanted to know how it would react with the regular Joe. So he jumped in feet first with building a new safe house in NYC. White was given the task to lure unsuspecting subjects, to the safe house and dose and record them unknowingly. So he started by bringing friends, volunteers, and colleagues to the safe house, along with women that he wanted to pretty much mac on and record their interactions. One night, so this is where it starts taking a turn. One night, a coworker joined in on what he assumed was just a little get-together among friends and was one of the lucky ones to get dosed. He started to feel woozy and was told that he had been given LSD. Needless to say, he was royally pissed off, but there was nothing he could do about it besides take a little trip, if you know what I'm saying. So there he was in a hotel room with people that he worked with and having the worst trip of his life. He hated it. And he felt very guilty about the work that he was doing. And so he went home and told his wife about it.
Oh.
Rumor has it that he was planning on blowing the whistle on the entire operation. And that is why not long after this happened, he was found on the ground in front of the Statler Hotel after falling from a window. The circumstances surrounding his death were a little suspicious, in my opinion. Maybe it really was guilt, and he took his own life. Maybe it could have been a delayed reaction to the drugs that he ingested. Or maybe somebody could have pushed him out the window to keep his mouth shut. Nobody knows.
If we aren't on a watch list, we definitely are now.
Well, later on, George Hunter White, who was doing the MK Ultra project with Gottlieb, had been promoted within the FBN, or the Federal Bureau of Narcotics.
Okay.
And he was offered a position in San Francisco. Gottlieb thought this was a perfect opportunity to make a safe house there as well and continue his research. This would be a sub-operation that they called Operation Midnight Climax.
Oh my...
Pew, pew, pew.
That sounds like a porno.
Oh, just wait.
Oh, no. Oh.
Hold on. It was the same MO as the New York operation, but with a twist. Gottlieb wanted to see if a man was more willing to spill his secrets if the element of sex was involved.
Oh my... Did they No.
Prostitutes, working ladies were involved. They were hired to lure Johns to the safe house. The ladies sometimes offered the drugs or could have just slipped it to them without them knowing. But White would sit behind a two-way mirror taking notes, listening, sipping martinis, all while sitting on a portable toilet. He was on the pot, watching, recording, taking notes, and getting his drink on. He was so worried that he would miss something important that if he even had to get up and use the restroom. So he sat on the toilet the entire time he was watching.
I hope he got hemorrhoids from that.
Probably.
I do. You sit on the toilet too long, you're gonna get them. And I hope that was some karma slid his way, okay?
Probably. Karma do the harma do your booty hole. Now, these women were instructed to carry on just casual conversations, asking about their personal life, act like they were interested, normal girl stuff, with the men after they were finished having sex.
Oh my gosh.
So, with the men feeling great after having an orgasm and euphoric from the drugs, they really were a little bit more compliant and open to talking about anything, which is exactly what Gottlieb and White were hoping for. But Gottlieb had just a little bit too much fun with the experiments.
Oh no.
So he would sometimes take advantage of the drugs and take the drugs himself and then take advantage of the women that they had available. And so White kind of got a little bit tired of doing this job because it was like he was pretty much getting Gottlieb laid.
Yeah, that sounds...
The best little whorehouse in San Francisco.
That sounds awful. I don't blame him. I'd be like, I can't do this anymore, dude.
Yeah. Ugh. Gottlieb was spiraling at a rapid rate, so George Hunter White just wanted to walk away. Gottlieb never did get the desired results that they were looking for the entire time. But with that being said, his funding was cut when another head of the CIA was appointed. Because I guess the other head of the CIA was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, how many years did this thing?
Oh, quite a few years.
Because it started just after World War II.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this was the Cold War, and the Cold War carried on for over a decade. So they got experimenting with drugs and all sorts of stuff just to see if they could brainwash people. It was basically just a huge failure, and several years after the trials came to a conclusion, info was leaked to the press about what the CIA had done and published what they found. So that is why we are covering it today, because, it got leaked. People are still talking about how messed up it was. And that was a very dark chapter in the history of the CIA. But one chapter that was never really closed. Do you remember Frank Olson?
Honestly, you've blown my mind with so much with...
The guy that fell out of the window?
Oh, yeah!
Uh-huh.
Okay.
His family saw what was being published, and they dragged Gottlieb to court for wrongful death.
Bet.
But Gottlieb cooperated and was given immunity for his confession.
That's bold.
Yeah, just because he was willing to spill his guts, he got immunity. So, that was crap. That was total crap in my opinion. I don't know, they couldn't pin it on him, so it is what it is. But a few years went by, and Congress wanted to bring forth an investigation into MK Ultra, but all who were involved forgot what had happened all those years ago. And Gottlieb got out of it scot-free, and MK Ultra just faded into obscurity. How do you forget all that crap?
The man sat on a toilet.
That was George Hunter White. But still, he was instructed to do it by Gottlieb. Yeah.
I don't care. Someone sat on a toilet taking drugs, taking notes of people having relations, and then everything that was said. That is, oh my God.
Yeah. Sooner or later, LSD managed to sneak its way into the mainstream and created an entire counterculture. John Lennon, of course, one of the Beatles, was quoted saying, "We must always remember to thank the CIA and the Army for LSD. They brought out LSD to control people, and what they did was give us freedom." So we can basically thank the government for the hippies. And freeing our minds. And so, that's why we have acid out in the public today, is because it just got out there. I'm not exactly sure how exactly it got out there. So what'd you think about that, sister?
This has just been a roller coaster of emotion. I can both not believe that this happened, but at the same time believe it, because it was the US government during like the 40s and the 50s. The war on drugs and everything else was just stupid. Let's face that. I knew that stuff like this probably happened, but I did not realize to what extent this all happened. And now I'm just left with the mental image of some guy sitting on a toilet watching, and just it being so awkward. And I'm just so concerned about the lack of consent of everything. Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is now going to live in my brain rent free.
Yeah. What do you think, Gravediggers? Do you think the CIA was justified in what they did? Were they wrong for doing it?
Yeah.
Do you think they do things like that we're unaware of now?
Yeah.
If you have any answers to any of that, just let us know. But for now, I guess we're just gonna let this one rest.
Thank God. Oh my God.
If you like what you heard, please feel free to follow, like, rate, and review Tales from the Graves podcast on your preferred listening platform.
We also would like to know what you think and what topic you suggest we unearth next. Email us at talesfromthegravespod@gmail.com or reach out to us at Tales from the Graves podcast on Instagram.
And if you have Discord, join us in the graveyard. The link is in our bio on our Instagram, as well as this listening platform. Thanks again, Gravediggers. Keep on digging.